this girl. We have hooked up 4 times. Every time we end up going for it for about an hour. Wow. You ever had sex for an hour, dude? Well, that's your problem right there. If you give a woman an hour of sex, they're going to want more sex, dude. My move, give a woman 7 or 8 minutes of troublesome. You should. I'm in Pittsburgh, coming to you live from a Courtyard Marriott, very basic. You could call it a hotel. It's kind of a motel to me. There's a kind of a very girthy sort of Indian or Middle Eastern man downstairs who I'm going to go out on a limb and say this fellow wants to do sex with me. He keeps baiting me downstairs, saying that the printer is fixed, and it's broken. And then he's like, oh, whatever. He's British as well. And he's like, oh, whatever am I to do? I'm just jeepers creepers. And the night shift, the people that work the night shift at hotels, man, I mean, they're either cool as fuck or they are fucked up. Because I have seen both types, man. I have seen both types, dude. One guy took me back in this baggage room where they kept a bunch of baggage one time, and he had a German Shepherd back there giving babies. Birth. Whelping, they call it when they're giving birth like that. This German Shepherd back there giving birth to baby animals. Little baby German Shepherds, you know that. So I just don't know what the fuck is going on, honestly, at some of these places. And I'm sorry to get fired up out of the gate and use this language, but, I've been out here in Pittsburgh for 4 nights. Good city, but I'm on the outskirts. I'm out here at one of these malls, and this is the kind of times when, in a comedian's life, dude, it's not great. It's not great. I want to go home. I'm tired. But with that said, I had some joy this weekend. You can look on the YouTubes. If you're on the YouTubes, I got a gentleman that makes some of my shirts, this gentleman, Kevin Best, and he showed up and made me some beautiful shirts, man. So that, really, really cool. And this one is of Michael Landon, who, I've always thought of as like a television prophet actor, who really kind of led or tried to help lead everybody in a positive direction before he died of cancer, and cancer got him. Dude, I'm starting to wonder, like, what diseases are we going to have from this technology we have right now, Like, we don't know anybody who has hit 65 years old and who's been on a cell phone for 40 years. We don't know the effects. We don't know the effects of a lot of the medicines that we're on right now. I mean, what if at, 70 years old, somebody who's been using a cell phone for 30 years, what if their fucking eyeballs fall out of their head? Huh? What if that's one of the afflictions? And then you got a bunch of people running around with no eyes or walking slowly and being angry at Verizon, but still addicted to their phones. How crazy is that going to look when you have a guy with no eyes in his head, and you're like, what happened to you? And he says, sorry, I can't talk right now. I'm on the phone. Even though it's the phone that did it to him. That's where we're headed, guys. We got.
I wanted to get your advice on a roommate situation I have.
This is Alex in Atlanta calling about a roommate situation he has.
I live with a good friend, recently moved in with him, but I'm having trouble sort of adapting back to having a roommate. He's sort of a kid who comes from money and seems to never really have had any responsibility in his life. I'm quite the opposite of,
Okay, so he moved back in with a roommate. It sounds like he didn't have a roommate, and now he's moved back in with the roommate. He's having trouble adjusting to that, and the roommate is maybe more of a silver spoon type of boy. Like, he's had types of things given to him onward.
Got a full-time job, since I've been in high school and worked for all my bills, and I've just it's kind of been a struggle for me, sort of not kind of being an asshole to him and coming off as a prick of a roommate. But it's just one of those things where, he sleeps all day, the few responsibilities I give him to benefit the two of us.
Oh, wow. So he's saying that, it's hard for him not to be a prick to his roommate. But then you say, Alex, I think it was Alex, you said the few responsibilities you give him. So it seems like your take on this, it seemed like you're having trouble adapting to being in a roommate situation, dude. Because if you're giving this dude, if you're like giving demands out of him, it sounds like you're not going to, some of those things you're not going to get, I mean, if you're expecting him to do all these things and expecting him to live a certain way, he's an adult too. You know, he might be set in his ways. It sounds like you're more angry that you have to now live with someone. To me, here, let's hear the end of this real quick.
Two of us as roommates, he just, takes forever to do anything and just never really gets anything done. But just, wanted to get your advice on that. I appreciate it. Love your podcast.
All right, man. Thank you so much for calling in about it. So you got the new roommate. Here's what I think, man. I think I don't know if you're ever going to be happy with him. If you started out in this vibe where he doesn't contribute enough, or the few responsibilities you give him, he doesn't get done, you're going to have to find a way to get out of that whole mindset. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself miserable, because it sounds like he's living it up, he's comfortable in enough situation. He's got a roommate. He's resting. His parents are taking care of things. That's going to be his life for now, And if you guys are arguing, then it's only going to make things even worse. So you don't want to get into an argumentative state, man. Maybe if he doesn't want to contribute and there are things he has to do, maybe see if he'd be willing to put in with to a cleaner, like a house cleaner that comes once a week. That way he can get whatever his responsibilities are done, make his responsibilities some of the cleaning, and then he can pay to have them done. So that way it takes it off of his chest. But you can't feel bad if he's not physically doing those things. You can expect him out of them, but at a certain point, if he's not doing them, he's not doing them. And that's just sometimes how roommates are. When I think of roommates, I think of two people arguing over dishes. That's what I think of. And somebody else ends up writing their name on the damn spaghetti sauce. And then, we had a guy who jumped out of his own window, tried to kill himself when he was on drugs or something, but he was only on the first floor. So he ended up just breaking his window and damaging a set of Venetian blinds. But he was an idiot, but he tried to kill it. He tried to, we had roommate wars and all that shit and people losing their mind, things can happen with your roommates where you...
Hey, Theo. So, second time calling. I'm just watching your podcast right now. I'm just waking up. I'm actually working abroad. I work in Ukraine.
Ukraine. Now, if you're not familiar with Ukraine, that's over there near Russia, Poland. That's a wild, it's the Wild West. A lot of snowball fights, a lot of children with stone shoes, and girls carrying stone dolls around. It's a tough life over there. So thank you for calling internationally, brother. Onward.
I'm an English teacher.
You're an English teacher.
Anyway, just having a few issues. I'm over here by myself.
Ooh, alone in the Ukraine. Also, the Ukraine is a lot of where those movies Hostel, and those movies where kids get murdered, or not children, adults get murdered on their spring break and stuff. So that's, I guess, a popular pastime in Ukraine. Onward.
Working abroad over here, I got a girl that I'm dealing with. Been seeing her for a few months. And it's just, these girls these days, man, they don't even officially say, or you guys don't have no talks. She's already expecting me to go to, family birthdays and just stuff I'm not into. And the crazy part is, this is my second time already dealing with these Ukrainian girls.
Okay, so he's having some issues here with these Ukrainian girls. They're expecting a lot out of him, and he's not having the talks. They're not, things aren't becoming clear. If it's a serious relationship or just a dating or something like that, I'm guessing. Let's listen more.
You meet them, you start hanging with them, everything's cool. You tell them you want to take it slow, you don't want nothing serious. And then all of a sudden, you're just buying birthday presents, and I don't know, man. What do you think about that? On these girls, just as soon as they get with you, they just act like your girlfriend. They don't have no discussions. And have a good one, man. Once again, long distance phone call. It's costing me money.
All right. Well, I appreciate you making that investment in this past weekend. The Ukrainian girls, man, if you call them, let's be honest, man, if you have it ever with the Ukrainians, a lot of them, they do it. They got a lot of. I'll tell you out the shoot here. A lot of that pornography comes out of the Ukraine and the Soviet Union, and those girls like to get wild. Real butt universe over there. But here's the thing: you said you're taking it slow. You tell these girls we're taking it slow, but even after taking it slow for a few months, that builds up speed, man. In the mind of a woman, things start to mean something to them, if you spend time. I got a gal that I've been just starting to spend some time with, and that makes me, I get nervous, I get nervous. because for me, it's just, am I ready to be a man? Do I think I can be that, that stable? Can I be a stable man in a relationship? Am I there enough yet in my head and in my heart? Do I have enough of my things taken care of in my life to do that, to really be that man? But for you, it sounds like you just want to be casual, but these women start expecting something. And then you go into birthdays and parties and fiestas and, y'all are, you guys might be doing, you think you're just taking a walk, but then have y'all jump into a carriage ride. And now y'all are carriage riders or listening to somebody play the violin or whatever they do over there in Russia, listening to somebody, softly beat their children, by candlelight or whatever romance happens over there, just watching somebody wash their forehead with soapy water or whatever. I'm Polish, so I know, I'm Polish Nicaraguan, so I know some of, I got in my blood some of what's going on over there. I can hear it in my heartbeat sometimes, some of the trite mad. Theo, what's up, man? This is Andrew from Iowa. Huge fan of all your stuff. I look forward to your podcast every week. So I have this situation I want to talk to you about. I've been seeing this girl. We have hooked up 4 times. Every time we end up going for it for about an hour. Wow. You ever had sex for an hour, dude? Well, that's your problem right there. If you give a woman an hour of sex, they're going to want more sex, dude. My move, give a woman 7 or 8 minutes of troublesome, awkward sex. And then they might not want it again. So you might want to consider that just to kind of slow down the pace you're on. This is only the second girl I've had relations with. And the same thing happened the 2 times I hooked up with the first girl. So I know the answer to this is to stop jerking it. But I wanted to ask you how you get to sleep when you are abstaining from masturbation. I've gotten into the routine of jerking it and falling asleep real fast. I'm sober now, so booze is not an option. I really want to quit the masturbation so I can have better sex. Thanks, dude. Andrew, I appreciate you reaching out from Iowa. I've had some good times in Iowa. I visited the Field of Dreams there. The actual one from the movie site, from the movie filming. It's there. And it's a nice thing to see if you drive through Iowa. I also had a good chicken fried steak there. But let me answer your question. You can't finish sexually. So if you sensually, you aren't finishing, so what, bro? Huh? So what, dude? I have sex sometimes and don't finish, You're not wrong for that. You don't have to finish every time. Have you ever started playing basketball and then it rains? Guess what, dude? You didn't finish, bro. Now, if you're jerking off right before bed, and that's your issue, then the problem is you have all that energy. You need to get rid of that energy throughout the day, and you have to get out and play hoops or, get some kettlebells or kick a ball around the yard, do soccer with the neighbor, or find some way to get that energy out of you. Go to the gym. If it's mental energy and that's what's causing you to jerk out and to skeet up, then you need to, you know what I do? Sometimes I watch car accidents on the internet, that'll sometimes help me tone down. I'll burn something in the bathroom sink, burn an old shoe or some piece of paper, something to get that edge off of me, something to let the devil out. Because what's happening to you is if you're feeling like you have to ejaculate to get that devil out of you. That's not true. You can get that devil out of you by some other way. You could chop a tree down. You could dig a hole in the yard, put something in there. Do a time capsule. You could just go for a run. You could lift weights. But you could watch karate, watch old adult karate on the internet. They got senior citizen karate. It's exciting, but it's not too violent where it makes me scared to go to bed. But it helps take some of that nervous energy out of me, watching that attack, those attack moves. So anyhow,